Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to VBC Happy Hour. It is good to see everybody this evening. I know we have a lot of people in the waiting room because this is a special edition of our VBC Happy Hour. This is the Veterans Breakfast Club. My name is Todd DiPastino. I'm the executive director of the Veterans Breakfast Club, and we are marking our 15th year of doing veterans programs where we gather people together and invite veterans to share stories, and all of us listen. And we also have these conversations online and in person around the military experience, past and present. And it's absolutely been the delight of my life, the privilege of my life to work with veterans and gather their stories and hear their stories. I'm looking around. We have so much history in this Zoom room right here. We have so many experiences here. And tonight we have a special program called, where we're going to screen a film called A Permanent Mark, Agent Orange in America and Vietnam. We have the filmmaker with us, Holly Million from the San Francisco Bay Area. Hello, Holly.
Hey,
Good
Todd,
to see you.
I'm glad to be here.
We also will have, if we don't already, have Joe Ramirez, who will be joining us from the Los Angeles area. He is VetStream TV. He's also a Marine, and he will be streaming A Permanent Mark after we premiere it here on this Zoom program. We have Sam Flores with us too. Sam, special guest joining us for the first time he lives near Fresno, California, and he is a Marine, and he's also the adjutant for the American Legion's Department of California. So a big job, and I know that he's an expert on Agent Orange and VBA and benefits and presumptive illnesses. Ron Gianta, our veteran in the know, is also going to be joining us. Brad Washerball can never have enough Marines. That's what Brad Washerball says in the chat. Yeah. But how much is enough? How much is enough? I don't. And speaking of Marines, and I know that people are still, I'm tap dancing a little bit because I know people are still coming in from the waiting room. So before we're going to screen the film. It'll be 82 minutes long. We will screen it, and then we're going to have a conversation for about an hour after the film. But I want to rate before I start the screen. I want to make sure that we have a nice group of people in from the waiting room. I know some people are signing on late. So while we have a little minute here, I'm so surprised to see Mary Klepper with us. This is where Mary was last week. Look at this. Speaking of Marines, Mary.
I was there Saturday.
Oh, you were just there Saturday.
Yeah. So, I was in the future, 14 hours ahead. So,
yes.
So I left this morning, Monday, 6:00, landed in Hawaii, 6 p.m. Sunday night. Yeah, they got home today. Yeah.
Mary, that gives me chills looking at that picture.
There are no words. There are no words.
Really?
Yeah. First of all, I thought I was going to die trying to get up there. It's 5 miles from the hangar to the top of that mountain.
Is it really? And nobody was shooting at you at the time.
And nobody was shooting. I mean, I still thought I was going to die.
Isn't that amazing?
And so right behind that memorial, there's a marker for James Bradley. And there's also a cement little block. And I'll share these pictures with you where the original flagpole was on top of Mount Suribachi.
Oh, isn't that neat? And yeah, we should let people know this is Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima, where the flag raising was conducted in February 1945. Did you have Iwo Jima veterans on the trip with you?
So there's 3 or 4 tour operators that are allowed to go. My group had 5 with us, but there was 11 to get all told. We had a couple of Guam battle survivors and one Pearl Harbor survivor. And it was incredible to talk to these men. I sat at breakfast one day with Lewis out of North Carolina, and sharp as a tack and funny, just a good man, and just a lot of fun. It was an incredible journey. And I even got myself a little souvenir when you go down to the beach with your water bottle and you fill it up with the volcanic ash.
My,
it was incredible. I mean, again, no words. And I lost 8 pounds. I mean, when I tell you, it was, yeah.
Well, that is on the Veterans Breakfast Club travel list. I mean, we do trips to, as you know, to Vietnam. You're coming with us to Vietnam this fall, and we do want to do a Pacific War
Well,
trip. So I'm going to have to debrief you on what the
yes,
experience was
absolutely.
like, Mary. Thank you.
We might not have much more time. It could be that as soon as the last one dies, the Japanese say no more.
No more, really? Okay.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
it's the peace treaty has changed with the change of power there. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah.
continue that discussion down the road. I appreciate that, Mary, so much.
Sure.
And we now, I think, have a nice quorum here in the Zoom room. And I know people will continue to join us. This is the screening of A Permanent Mark, Agent Orange in America and Vietnam. I will start the screen and we will watch it for 82 minutes, an 82-minute film. We have Holly Million here, the filmmaker. We have Joe Ramirez from VetStream TV, which will be streaming this documentary for a couple weeks after tonight. And then we're just gonna have I know we have a lot of Vietnam veterans here. So we have Ron Worstel also. My gosh, I didn't even introduce Ron Worstel. Ron, yay. Ron is featured in the movie. We will talk with Ron about his service and about the experience of being in this film. And of course, just have the wide-ranging conversation that we always do here at VBC Happy Hour. Everybody, of course, will mute themselves so that we don't have interruptions. But I will invite people, if you want to running comments in the chat, I think that would be really helpful. I know I'm going to put in, my thoughts as I watch, and also links to other information that might be helpful along the way. So without further ado, let me begin the stream of A Permanent Mark. Thank you, Holly, for that film. And thanks to all of you for watching it here together with us. Very thought-provoking. There's a lot there. Holly, let me start the conversation by asking, what do you think and feel as you watch something that you made, be screened before over 100 people here we have in the Zoom room?
Oh, Todd, wow. It was so moving to me to be in a room with this many people watching this film. I have to say it was lots and lots of different emotions for me. It was a long journey to make the film. I've been a filmmaker for a long time, but this was my first time directing a film. It also was very personal. My mother was the main character of this film. It took me a long time to make the film. It took me a long time to find the veterans. It took me a long time to make the story. And I also need to share with everyone that my mother died suddenly on September 11th, 2020, with no warning. And so she was out of my life instantly. And that's when I was really grateful for this film, because my mother continues to live on through the film. And I learned so much about her by making this film with her. I learned things about her I didn't know. I had no idea she would be so good on camera. I had no idea she would be such a character. I had no idea she'd be kissing snakes and reading poetry and releasing birds and like turn into the high priestess on camera. And she was phenomenal. And the trip to Vietnam really brought us closer together than we had ever been in my life. And so I'm so grateful on so many levels. But I'm also grateful to know that the veterans that I have shown the film to have said that they are grateful for it and that they believe that this is an important story to be told, that it needs to be told, that it could help people. So I'm just so grateful to you, Todd, and the Veterans Breakfast Club, and also to Ron Worstel, who's here and with us, and we'll be talking in a minute. Ron came through a very mysterious channel to me. It turned out to be, he lived 30 minutes away from my mother, where she was in Pittsburgh. And Ron became very close to my mother. They became good friends, and his wife, Carol's also here on viewing this. So there were so many reasons why the film meant something to me. Now to see it again and see it with a group, and to see the comments that have been made, to also see it with members of my family, my friends, my coworkers, and all the veterans and their family members who are here. I'm just blown away.
And I should let people know that we'd like to open this up for a conversation. Please feel free to raise your Zoom hand or just wave your hand in front of in front of the camera here, or put something in the chat that you have something to say. I know that we have several people have already shared a little bit about their service or about their loved one service. Please do feel free. Let me just ask you this: if you are a veteran here, if you are a Vietnam veteran, put it in the chat, where you served, when you served, what branch of service. Would love to get a sense of the number of, I know we have a lot of veterans here, including Ron Worstel. Ron, thank you for joining us. Ron from Pittsburgh. I've, I have a lot of questions. I want to ask you first about how you feel about seeing yourself in the documentary, but Ron, I know about your daughter, and your daughter was born in 1974 with spina bifida. How long was it that you then found out about that it was related to Agent Orange?
It wasn't until she was about 23, 24 years old that the VA recognized that. But growing up with her and getting to know other families in the Pittsburgh area with children with spina bifida, there seemed to be a high number of dads who served in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And, knowing a little bit about the accident in the 84s when the lawsuits were going on and stuff like that, I always felt liable, that I was accountable for that. There was no proof, but it was just my thinking. And then when the VA recognized it, it just dropped a hammer on me.
It did drop a hammer on you.
Yeah, it did.
So you felt
I confirmed it.
responsible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my. Have you had any health issues related to Agent Orange, Ron?
I have type 2 diabetes is related to Agent Orange. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And can I ask you also, Ron, as I'm looking, boy, a lot of wonderful stuff in the chat here. How is going back to Vietnam for you? I mean, you served, if people understand, you served in the Big Red One in the 1st Infantry Division, rifleman, RTO, radio operator. You saw a lot of combat. What was it like to go back and not only go back, but then meet the enemy?
Yeah, for the first 30 years after Vietnam, I would have never thought I'd go back. There was no reason to. It was ugly. I was angry like most veterans. But around 2000, I came to the conclusion that I didn't hate the Vietnamese anymore. They didn't do anything more or less than I did. My government grabbed me by the back of the neck and said, "You will go." And their governments did the same thing. So it became the politics that was the problem. It wasn't the Vietnamese citizens, and it wasn't the US soldiers and citizens. So I went back because I wanted to see the relationship with population with Agent Orange. That was in my 2004 trip. But unfortunately, I didn't get to see very much of that.
Right.
But when this opportunity came up with Holly, I jumped on it. I knew that was what I was wanting to do.
Yeah. And meeting the enemy was?
That was fine. That really was fine. He did what he had to do in the day, and I did what I had to do in the day. Yeah.
Joe Ramirez, I want to ask you. Joe Ramirez of VetStream TV, Marine. He runs VetStream TV, founder of it, and knows a lot about films, of course, and is has made his own films and is working on films. Joe, and you and I had seen Holly's film before. So this is the second time that I viewed it here tonight. When you viewed it, you said, we talked about it a little bit, and I loved what you had to say. You said that I think the way you put it is the film very much had a woman's touch to it. It's different from other war films or war documentaries or Vietnam War films. There's something into the weaving of the poetry into it. The personal family relationships. Joe, here, let me ask you to unmute here, Joe. Yeah, what was your impression of the film? Why did you want VetStream TV to stream this film?
Well, to begin with, I'm really passionate, as you know, Todd. Probably have said this probably not enough, and you probably can't hear it enough, in the sense that we really, really are grateful and support the Vietnam veterans who are still with us in every which way we can. And yeah, this is the third time I've seen it. I saw it once, and then I screened it again with my wife, and then we engaged with you guys. And that was one of the first things I noticed from the opening scene with that bird. I mean, I just a Vietnam film that is got a dark side to it. It starts off, it's just gorgeous, and
Yes.
so that's so that was a good kickoff, and I was moved by it again. So appreciate that, Holly. You're awesome, and for what you did, and we're going to get this out there. It'll be on starting tomorrow on the channel, and we've got about 100,000 viewers coming in and out of the channel, and I can't wait for them to see it.
And I see we have Daria Summers with us. So I've just been corresponding a little bit back and forth. Another filmmaker we're going to be streaming one of her films here later in the year. And I saw that she put a comment here that how much she is a sad film, but a beautiful film at the same time. Boy, wonderful comments here. I want to ask. I'm looking for Renee Johnson. Oh no, let's go to Joe Griffiths, and then Renee. I'll find you, Renee, and ask you to unmute.
Todd, maybe the best film I've ever watched. Took me back to yesterday with buddies that are suffering. Holly, you did a great job. We can't do a lot about the Agent Orange they sprayed 50 years ago on us. And we really probably can't do a lot for the next 50 years of South Vietnamese, probably North Vietnamese, our American soldiers are going to die with. But something was said during the film that we can do something about. Holly, I believe it was your mother, said we can do something about the homeless veterans in this country. We can do something about that tomorrow. Probably can't do much about Agent Orange tomorrow, but damn it, we can do something about the 60,000 homeless men and women that are dying on the street. There's no need for that. Secretary McDonough, I know you watch everything I do. You and Kim Mitchell and Terrence Hayes, watch this film and then tell Joe Griffiths and the people on this Zoom how you justify leaving people on the streets to die. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Joe. Renee Johnson, can you unmute? Because
I'm unmuted.
How are you doing, Renee?
I'm good.
Renee was a donut dolly in Vietnam, one of about a little under 1,000 of those who served with the Red Cross volunteers, so-called donut dollies, traveling the country for a year in a non-combat civilian role. Renee, you were exposed, of course, to Agent Orange, as the rest of the dollies were. What do you get any benefits or any protection? No.
We get nothing. We were told before we went over that there would be no responsibility, but of course we did not know about Agent Orange at that time. But we have a very high incidence of thyroid issues, infertility or miscarriages, children born with disabilities, just like the GIs. We don't have prostate cancer for the most part, but otherwise, I have peripheral neuropathy, diabetes when nobody else in the family had it, lost my thyroid long ago.
Wow.
And I'm not unusual.
That is not unusual among former donut dollies.
No, it's not.
And you just have it treated just, with a private physician, just as a regular civilian would. There's no.
Exactly.
Oh boy. Tandy Kugler put a very interesting case here in the chat. And there's been wonderful responses by Ron Gianta and others to your case. Tandy, can you tell us what the kind of help that you're looking for? Tandy, you are unmuted, but I'm not sure. I don't think we could hear you. All right. If you could connect, I see that you've applied. Okay. Well, Mike or Mike Busavicki or Ron Gianta. Let me find you, Mike and Ron, here, because you addressed Tandy's issue. Oh, here you are, Ron. Thank you very much, Colonel. And I'll find Mike. Ron, you're unmuted. Why don't you, would you mind just talking a little bit about what somebody like Tandy should do if they feel like they have a claim for Agent Orange?
Well, what I would try to do is get with a veteran service officer and see what can be done in trying to file a claim or do something to bring it to the attention of their service in Vietnam. I mean, I know the VA is strictly for veterans, but maybe there's some group out there or something that can help some of these folks that were not veterans, but they still gave their all in supporting our troops overseas in Vietnam. I mean, something has to be done for these people. How about the Red Cross volunteers, everything, all those people?
Yeah.
The USO people. I mean, something really should be done. And maybe issues like this should be brought to our congressman. Maybe something needs to change in the law.
Right.
What about the private contractors who are in Vietnam? Okay, just like we have private contractors all over the place here and the other conflicts.
Right. And Tandy, I see that you are unmuted. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you let us know a little bit about your case here?
Well, my husband was in Vietnam, 69 and early 70, and but he went over. His unit was stationed in Florida, and he went over on secret orders on a TDY, and nowhere does it say that he was there on his DD-214 or any of his C file, except that we have things saying that he was paid hazardous duty pay and that was stopped. And, you know, and we put in an application. It was promptly denied. That was denied within like 3 weeks, while the rest of the things that he put in for was considered and took several months. But and he does have partial, compensation now. He's at 80%, but being 81 years or almost 81 years old, he's not able to work. So he's on a what is it called?
Ability.
Yeah,
TDIU.
temporary unemployability. And
Total-
anyway,
Total
so he's getting
disability
that, but
based on individual.
it still doesn't address the issue of his heart, and all the artery stents he's had to have and cleanings of his carotid artery and those kind of things. And in my opinion, that's probably what's going to get him in the end, not the dementia that he's also gotten, which they haven't decided what that's from. But anyway, and if that's the case, then once he goes, what do I, there's no compensation or anything for me because he's not at 100%. And, it's really sad that they won't acknowledge that he was even in Vietnam. And then barring that, he worked on Eglin Air Force Base where they were spraying, and he was on the airplanes taking pictures of them spraying.
Right, right.
Mike, isn't Eglin one of the places that were listed for being exposed to Agent Orange, like the Air
Yes.
Force Reserve bases?
Yes, it was.
It was anywhere that they had the C-123 aircraft specifically. That's one, and it
Right.
would even it would be even outside of just one specific base. They had it in several different places. Something that I would recommend upon filing, if you refile your claim, first and foremost is to give as much information about when and where he served, even if it was a classified or a special operation or something like that. What you would want to do is make sure that you give the VA as much information to research that. The VA can and does research these classified operations through the National Archives. So if you know at least a brief window, it was, even if, and it has been a long time, I can understand that, but perhaps he could even narrow it down even if he doesn't know the month and year specifically, was it the monsoon season? Was it kind of the drier season? Was he in the lowlands? Was he in the mountains? Things of that nature. And if he could give any information to help the archivist find when and where he was there, just for the purposes of verification. They just need to put him in there for a day. It doesn't matter if you were in Vietnam for a day or a decade, you're considered exposed to Agent Orange by VA. I put it in the chat, but I think it kind of it got buried by all the great conversations we've been having here. So I wanted to make sure that I re-stressed that is something that can be done and can get some assistance. Like Ron said, I would definitely make sure to go through a veteran service organization that will help you do that free of charge. Absolutely. And I think you mentioned TDIU, temporary disability based on or total disability based on individual unemployability. That is considered a total evaluation, and there are survivors benefits, especially if he's been in receipt of TDIU over 10 years. So I wouldn't say that there's nothing that they can do for you at the same time. I'm just saying that there are a couple different benefits and some avenues you might want to pursue.
Also,
you.
Mike,
Oh,
wouldn't it also be good if the veteran was able to get a buddy statement
Yeah, that was something. Yeah,
from a former commander?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I said that earlier in the chat, and I got buried. It was something about to the effect of make sure if you could get a buddy statement or a witness statement, any lay evidence like that, especially if someone else that he served with has also been verified. So in other words, if he has someone, a comrade that he would have served with, or a commander, like you said, who they have also been verified, and they say, look, this is what I used to verify my claim, and get with them and also get a statement, and then that would also help as well. Some additional corroborating evidence like that would be excellent.
You know, Todd, I tell every veteran, no matter how big or small the disability or the issue you're faced with, always keep applying. And also you want to have medical documentation to back you up, because if a veteran is taken down by an affliction and they're a wartime veteran, there are definitely benefits there for the spouse, right, Mike?
That is absolutely correct. Dependency and indemnity compensation, DIC, for any veteran who has a total disability for 10 years or longer, it's automatic. So just different benefits that are out there. Make sure to stay informed, stay in contact with your VSO. They do not charge for these services. Make sure to stay in contact with them, and you can pick a different one if you want to work with one or the other. It doesn't matter.
I just had a vet pass away, and he turned 60 years old last March. Mike, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a shame he didn't even start collecting his reserve retirement check yet. But upon his death, his wife filed a DIC claim, a death indemnity claim, with the help of his VSO.
Yes.
She was approved within 10 days.
Right. And I see Patrick Hughes with the Patrick makes a good comment there. The VA is not necessarily user friendly, but at the same time, again, beating a dead horse with it though, work with a veteran service organization, people that get paid. They put food on their table knowing the ins and outs of VA benefits. They know what to submit, how to submit it, and can verify it, and then follow up with you on it.
Yeah. And Mike, I should hasten to say that Mike Busavicki is joining us as a private veteran citizen. He is an employee of the Veterans Administration of the VA, but he's not here on behalf of the VA. Sam Flores, you're joining us from Fresno, California, and you are the adjutant for the American Legion, the Department of California. You've been a service officer for a long, long time. What has your experience been with Agent Orange claims?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm actually glad Mike is here. He provided a lot of great information, and also Ron. Thank you, gentlemen, for stepping in there. I did see that comment of Tanya when she came up, and her question was answered very well. Agent Orange, it's one of those It's one of those conditions and claims that are very finicky and extremely different with every situation. Like was stated earlier, sometimes one veteran might get approved and another will not. There's a lot of classified records that haven't gotten released yet, and some may never will, but there's always stands a chance that they will be. If that happens, obviously it makes it a lot easier for the veteran to file claim and possibly get a successful outcome. But if not, Michael's absolutely right. The more information, the closer the window that you can provide to the investigating team, the better it would be for the outcome.
Yes, and that I'm just going to say with the release of the record, sometimes it's not going to be released or unclassified for public view. It can still be verified through VA channels just for the purposes of verification. I'm going to put the and I'm sure you're familiar with the manual. I'm going to give you the manual reference in there. I'm not sure if this is going to mean anything to anyone else on the chat, and I apologize ahead of time, but this is something for you, sir. If you want to check this out, and then that would be something that could be helpful in helping your veterans and say, hey, making sure put the VA's nose right on it and go, hey, I want you to apply this provision here. That's the current reg on that, about looking up those special incidents and how to go through the coordinator at each regional office that takes care of those types of verifications.
You know, sticking with the benefits issue, how does the PACT Act, which was passed last year, impact it? Does it broaden the range of presumptive illnesses?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it
does.
does. There's two additional presumptive conditions with Agent Orange, but the big expansion is the locations outside of Vietnam. And then the one other thing too, I want to make sure that is clear on that is the toxic exposures under PAC, just in general. I put 2 PDF documents in the chat, and I can add them again. Those are the conditions that are not only presumed, but then things that are already specifically excluded, unless, underline, unless the veteran submits something with the claim from their doctor, preferably some type of competent evidence that says, we know that COPD is excluded. However, in this particular case, this respiratory issue was exacerbated by Agent Orange. Then we can develop it that way, because if it's not added, if it's not part of the application, it's not automatically conceded, and that's why it's called an exclusion. I'll put that in there again.
Todd, I just put in my Word document too. I did a fast synopsis today about Vietnam and Agent Orange. It does show the new presumptive diseases. It's a Word document. It also shows illnesses associated with Agent Orange. And on page 2, it has the locations and the dates for exposure to Agent Orange, to include the new ones: the Royal Thai Military Base in Thailand, Cambodia at Mamot or Krek, Guam or American Samoa in the territorial waters off of Guam.
Johnson Atoll, yeah.
Yeah, and Johnson Atoll. I mean,
the herbicide presumptive list I put on there also gives you your effective dates of when they became law. There's some good information on that one.
also
Perfect.
eligible reserve locations. Now, this is something a lot of people don't talk about. The Air Force Reserve bases that inherited the C-123s after Vietnam.
Absolutely.
And here you have an Air Force reservist, a medical tech flying medical airlift or doing drills on a C-123, never set foot in Vietnam, but now they're paying the price for what we did with those aircraft.
Right, exactly.
And those aircraft should have been burned and crushed.
Kent Shu, thank you for joining us. I don't remember you being on our programs before. I'm glad that you joined us.
Yeah, I've been on since watching the film.
I mean, before in like previous weeks.
Oh no, I just saw Holly's Facebook page
Okay.
posting, so I'm familiar with her.
Good.
And you know, some of the other stuff that she's done. I want to bring up a point that may be a long shot, but the veteran should also pay attention to having been vaccinated by either Pfizer or Moderna or J&J, because we do not know what the side effects of those shots and boosters are doing to kick in some of the stuff back into play again with the Agent Orange.
Okay, that's a long shot. Thank
It
you
is a
very
long
much.
shot. You know, it's the vaccine injuries that may get kicked up.
Let me see. I saw that we have another donut dolly with us, Ellie, who I don't remember talking with before. Oh yeah, Ellie, if you want to, feel free, Ellie, if you want to unmute yourself and say hello. You put some interesting comments here in the chat about your Agent Orange exposure because of Vietnam. And I want to invite anybody who wants to make a comment, ask a question, maybe talk about their own experiences, making a claim with Agent Orange. Nature of
Hey,
your
Todd.
yes.
Hey, this is Joe. Yeah, if I may, maybe it's a general comment, but when I got out of the Marine Corps and had my own little PTSD, I was in the waiting room waiting to be seen, and unfortunately, I saw a lot of the Vietnam veterans there. Unfortunately, probably not getting the care that they should have. And by the way, my dad also had Agent Orange and didn't really get his benefits until, just really, really recently. And he had so many mental issues that we later found out that it was Agent Orange. In fact, it was kind of a relief that we were able to, attribute it to that, because then now we can treat it. But I wanted to make a general comment that a lot of what we're talking about here paved the way for veterans such as myself, Sam Flores, or the younger vets to be treated at least a little bit better in going to the VA. And I saw an interview with, I think, John Stewart when the PAC Act got passed. He thanked the Vietnam veterans for the kind of paving the way sort of thing. So they made sacrifices in a way that in a lot of ways we don't realize, and it's the purpose why on Veteran TV we're just really passionate about Vietnam veterans. At this juncture. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you, Vietnam vets, for paving the way for guys like myself.
They sure did. It's the Vietnam veteran generation is the most remarkable generation of veterans I know. And that's no criticism of earlier generations or later generations. Maybe it's because it's a generation I seem to, I'm closest to, but I am stunned, and I continue to be stunned how active Vietnam veterans are in the veteran community, how much they support other veterans of other eras and ages and wars. They're the ones who visit World War II veterans in nursing homes. They're also the ones who help younger veterans when they're coming home. I'm just, and the film mentions this. The film talks about how, Vietnam veterans had to organize themselves to address these kinds of issues. Mark Spear-Digliozzi, how are you from Lancaster?
How are you doing, Todd? I'm doing fine. I just wanted to say that I am probably an exception to the rule. I was diagnosed with lung and liver cancer in June of 2022. I used the VSO via the county here in Lancaster, and I was awarded 100% disability at the end of September, the beginning of October of that same year. And what I did is I just made sure that all of the documentation that I was and everything that I did, ask your physicians to help you document that. I submitted 146 pages of documentation. Wow. And I really believe that has helped me tremendously. I still am going through the chemo for the lung cancer. They've removed a portion of my liver and my lung, and I am still going through all of that. But I have been treated very, very well by the VA system.
That's wonderful. How are you feeling, Mark? I know.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. I have 140 pills left of the Oro chemo. But I started with 700, Todd. So it's getting down to next to nothing. So
you're working your way through that pile.
And I need to also reach out and just say to Holly that you brought me to tears watching this film. It brought me to a point where I may want to try to go back and get some closure in Vietnam also. I don't know that yet, but it's just such a wonderful thing to sit here and see that somebody took the time to put this together.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel the same way. Somebody who's not a veteran, somebody who really probably like me, and not that I'm, I'm imposing this on Holly, who didn't know that much about Agent Orange, like I didn't, to really devote herself to the story is a wonderful thing. And I want to get to Holly. Oh, Holly, you want to say something? I want to go to Rick Gardner. Rick, I don't believe that you've joined us before on the Veterans Breakfast Club. But you put something in the chat that indicated that you did go back to Vietnam, correct?
Yes, I did. The purpose was to go back and for some closure. I didn't necessarily get to go to places that I had been, but it helped. It's not total, but I would advise it. There are so many groups that do go back, and there are so many tour groups that take people back, that if you have the urge to do it, you want to put away some demons, do it. It's not that expensive of a trip. It's a long trip. It could be hard on some people at our age now. I mean, it's been over 10 years since I did it. But one of the things that I just found here, being on this site, right next to me in another block here is this Ted Diebick. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. Him and I served, all of a sudden finding out, in the same area, in the same era, in a little town called Duck Foe, on a couple different LZs, Bronco and Liz. He was with the 35th Infantry Division. I was with the 3/4 Cav in an armored unit. We operated as blocking mechanisms for the infantry that he was in. Just found this out from being on this site. It's really eerie, but it's neat.
Isn't that great? Ted Debiak. Yeah, and he was with us here on in the Zoom room. I saw.
He's up in the top left-hand corner here next to me. So.
Yeah, he's right next to you. Oh, there he is. I see him. Hey, Ted. Thank you for joining us. Please do feel free to unmute. Yeah, and I do want to advertise the Veterans Breakfast Club is one of those groups that does trips back to Vietnam. We've done 2 so far, 2018 and 2020, and we're doing our next one in November, December, for 2 weeks. I just put information about the trip in the chat.
Okay.
If anybody's interested. We cap it at 30. It's a wonderful, wonderful trip. I know several people in this room have been on it. I'm not a veteran, but I'm a historian. I taught at Penn State a course on the Vietnam War for many, many years in the history of Vietnam. So I love it. I love doing this. Holly, Million.
Here I am.
What's it like to hear all this response to your film?
Oh, thank you, Todd. I decided to unmute because I'm so moved by everything that everyone's saying. And Mark, what you said earlier about how this had moved you. I'm so touched by that because, and you had commented about the different perspective. I am not a veteran, and my mother was not a veteran, and but I was so devastated when my stepfather, Bob, her second husband, was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then he died rapidly. I mean, it was only 4 years after they were married. So it bothered me. I said to people that there were 2 reasons I decided to make the film. And one was that I was watching my mother's grieving for the second time in her life. And it seemed like such a robbery for her to have lost again another husband. And also that Bob was just such a very kind, sweet, ordinary person. And I wasn't willing to sit by and allow his story to go untold. It didn't seem fair to me. I wanted him to have some kind of justice. So that's why I made the film. And no, there isn't anything we can really do about all of the spraying that occurred decades ago, as somebody else said, but our job is to tell the story and to make people watch it and to reveal what happened and to ask that it never happen again. And as I started getting into it, I realized how many people were affected. I couldn't believe it. Hundreds of thousands of Americans, and then the Vietnamese people. And the real reward was to bring the 2 groups together and just the most beautiful interactions that I had ever seen. So the film was so rewarding, but I am just so grateful for all of the comments. And I do hope that the veterans here will, if they have an opportunity, go with you, Todd, to Vietnam, or so we have to get the story out there.
Yeah, it's such an important story, and it's there's so many dimensions to it. And Holly, I think your film kind of brings out that that heartfelt, emotional, intimate connection that that we really need, and that but I thought I would just, I'm looking at the clock here, and I know that we'll probably end up the program here in 11 minutes at 9 o'clock at the top of the hour. But can I ask you guys who were there seeing this stuff get sprayed? My understanding is, and we saw the film, it was sprayed with hoses off the back of trucks. It was sprayed from riverboats. It was sprayed from helicopters, I believe, and from C-123s and other aircraft. Did it help? I mean, did it help in the fighting? Did it help in the fighting? Mark Spiridigliosi says, probably not. Who knows? Ron Worstel?
I think it helped for the moment, but it didn't help long-term by any means. It killed the vegetation right away, and it opened up an area that you couldn't see. But within a matter of a couple of weeks, it was all covered over again.
But they just moved back. They moved away from the area that was defoiled. They wouldn't stay out in the middle of it all.
Right. They would just find another place to hide.
That's it, yeah.
Miswa? Yeah, it's like when we went down on QL9 down onto the Laotian border. They had sprayed on either side of QL9, so you had 150 feet on each, was barren. Gave the North Vietnamese ideal room to shoot those RPG-7s at us. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I really thank those guys for spraying.
Well, and Ron Worstel, correct me, I believe you're the one who taught me this first. Kind of one of the tragic things about this story is that what made Agent Orange so poisonous, the dioxin, didn't have to be in it. It was a byproduct, correct?
Sure, it all ended up in the rivers, and all of our water was taken from the distribution systems within Vietnam. They were purified, but no one knew to check for Agent Orange or dioxins. So all the water everybody drank, whether you were supply or whether you were out in the field, your water was contaminated with dioxin.
And the dioxin could have been removed from the Agent Orange before it was sent abroad, correct?
I don't know that, Todd. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know that either. Holly knows. Holly knows. That's why we have Holly here with us. Holly?
So it was a byproduct of the manufacturer. They didn't want it to be in there, but because of the way they were producing this rapidly to get it ready to sell to the government, they had to heat it up and expedite it. And when you do that, it causes dioxin to form. So that was said earlier in the film. The Monsanto and Dow and the other companies that were manufacturing this, they knew it was contaminated. And they had already done experiments to show dioxin was very toxic. They had incidents at their own manufacturing plants with their employees getting chloracne and getting other illnesses from exposure. So there was absolutely no reason for the dioxin to be in there.
I mean, that the beginning of your film is scandalous, covering that
Yeah,
that they
I don't
knew.
know I don't know that there was any way to remove it from the water. And I know in Vietnam, there's that Dr. Tiger and that we're talking about trying to remove it from the soil.
Yeah.
Trying to get vegetation to grow without the dioxin. So those are some of the things they're doing over there now for that.
Donut Dolly Ellie asks, is there a blood test for dioxins? I don't know.
There is, it's very expensive.
Okay.
Hey, Todd,
Yes, Bob Mizwa.
I have a very good friend of mine, George. He lives 2 miles from me. He's dying now, brain cancer, liver cancer from Agent Orange. But George volunteered to go up to the VA hospital and University Drive for the body fat test. He said, don't have it done. It will make you sick when you find out how much of that crap is in your body fat.
Really, you could get that tested.
Yeah, you you can get tested for it.
Oh, boy. Jim Roberts, Jim and Linda Roberts, I asked you to unmute simply because you're people of science. Both of you are. Jim, a scientist, teacher, and Linda, a physician. What are your thoughts here on what you saw tonight and what we've been talking about?
My one comment was that one of the interesting side effects of using Agent Orange, as was just recently said, it was very short-lived. The camp I was on while they were using Agent Orange, they put in a minefield and the barbed wire. And then the Agent Orange quit working and the vegetation grew back. And we couldn't go in and cut the vegetation out of the barbed wire because it was a minefield. We couldn't burn it because that would set the mines off. And so we provided a really nice mechanism for the VC to get really close to us when they were probing and attacking.
Oh my!
There was nothing we could do about it. That was the side thing. As far as Agent Orange, I've been incredibly lucky. So Gary Weinrich, who was the Intel NCO at the same camp I was at, he's YB in the book. He's had all sorts of health issues that are Agent Orange related. Jim Rice, who was my team captain, he's been fortunate too. He has some things that are probably Agent Orange, but nothing nearly as severe. So it's been very fortunate here in this household.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. Before we go, I just want to invite people who haven't joined us before to join us again sometime. We do this online every Monday night at 7. We have a lot of special programs also. We just have conversations about the military experience, past and present, and we hear veteran stories. Another thing that we do is publish a magazine every quarter, VBC Magazine. We send it out free of charge to anybody who wants a copy. This is our latest issue. We have our next issue is at the printer. You can see this is the latest issue that covers our trip to Vietnam. And so please do let us know if you want to receive a copy. You could just email me, Todd, TODD, at veteransbreakfastclub.org. Todd, TODD, at veteransbreakfastclub.org. Thank you, Brad Washabaugh. It takes a Marine to remind me that we do have a survey, and then we love it when people take it. I just have to get the link here.
Got it there.
You have it. Oh, good. Thank you so much, Sean. Yeah, we do a survey, 3 questions. What did you like the program? What did you like or not like about it? How could we improve? Please do take it if you can. It'll take 2.5 minutes, and it helps us a lot. I just want to thank everybody. Holly Million, thank you so much for joining us and for making the film. You could watch it again if people want to share the link on Vetstream TV. Joe Ramirez with Vetstream TV is with us tonight. Sam Flores, thank you for joining us. Ron Gianta, Ron Worstel, Mike Busavicki. Thank you all very much for joining us. And I hope to see you next weekend. Vietnam Veterans Day is on Wednesday. We're having a big program in person and also online. It'll be streamed. Looks like we have over 500 people signed up for that one. So hope to see you on Wednesday. If not, maybe next week. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you again for joining us.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.